Section 1.1, the language and rules of logic. Let's start with the definition. A proposition in logic is a statement that makes a claim. A proposition should always be in the form of a sentence, not as a question or just a phrase, because you have to be making a claim. So for instance, let's look at some examples of statements. 1, Anka is sitting on the table. This is making a claim, so this is a proposition. It makes the claim that she's sitting on the table. Now, we don't know whether she's sitting on the table or not, but it's making a claim that she is. Number 2, where are you going after class? Now, this is a question. It's not really stating something, it's asking you about something. So this is not a proposition. The big brown dog. It's telling you something that the dog is big and brown, but it's not making a claim. It's just describing something. And then finally, 5 plus 6 equals 12. This is making a claim. Equals in mathematics is the same thing as saying is, or is equal to. So 5 plus 6 equals 12. That's making a claim that 5 plus 6 is equal to 12. So this is a proposition. Now, propositions, because they're making a claim, can have two possible truth values. Now, when I say truth value, I just mean they can be true or they can be false. And what we're going to do in this section is look at propositions and rules for when propositions are true or false. All right, so let's play with propositions, and let's start with negations. The negation of a proposition makes the opposite claim of the original proposition. And because it makes the opposite claim, that means it will have the opposite truth value. So if the original proposition was true, the negation will be false. If the original proposition was false, the negation will be true. Let's look at a couple of examples. Let's find the negation of the following. Anka is sitting on the table. Well, that's a claim that she's sitting on the table. If I wanted to make the opposite claim, I could simply put not in there. Anka is not sitting on the table. By putting not in, I'm making the opposite claim. Not is a great way in the English language to actually make an opposing claim. Putting the not in front of the verb is a great way to do that. The next example, the dog is not in the backyard. So here we know the dog is not in the backyard. If I wanted to say the opposite of that, I would say the dog is in the backyard. A good way to look at a negation of a statement that has a not is to take out the not. So you can either put in a not to negate, or you can take it out to negate, depending on whether it was there in the first place. Now the third example is a little more complicated because it isn't as simple as putting a not in, because it doesn't sound quite right. Nobody in the room likes ice cream. To put a not in there to make it a negative, it doesn't really make sense to say not nobody in the room likes ice cream. It also doesn't make sense to say nobody in the room not likes ice cream. So what we have to do is think about a different way to say it. And part of the issue is thinking about what the opposite of nobody is. A lot of times people will try to say, well, the opposite of nobody is everybody. But actually, that's just one of the possibilities. Another way of thinking about the opposite or the opposite truth value of nobody is saying one person or two people or three people or everyone. So it could be just one or two, or it could be everyone in the room. And when we think about the opposite claim of nobody. And so what we have to do is include them all. And it can be quite complicated to say not one, not two, or sorry, one person, two people, three people, four people, five people, six people, etc., all the way up to everyone. Instead, what we'll do is we'll simplify that and say someone. Someone in the room likes ice cream. So that's a simple way of, looking at the opposite. If no one in the room likes ice cream, they all dislike ice cream. If we want to oppose that, we could say someone in the room likes ice cream. And the word someone will include the option of one person likes ice cream, or two people like ice cream, or everyone in the room likes ice cream. Another way to do this that works just as well is to say at least one person in the room. Likes ice cream. That's another way in the English language to actually say one or two or three or four or five or everyone in the room likes ice cream. So what we are doing with negating no one is we're saying at least one person or someone in the room likes ice cream. You never want to say everyone likes ice cream as an opposite of nobody, because you're leaving out the possibility that just one or two like ice cream. All right, the other thing I want to mention related to negations is a double negation. Double negations are fairly common, and a double negation is when a negated proposition is itself negated. For example, I will not wash my hands. We often use double negations when we really want to emphasize we're going to do something. Here, I'm trying to emphasize that I will wash my hands. By saying I will not wash my hands, I'm really saying I will wash my hands. So that double not, those undo each other, so you get back to the positive. So a double negation, the first not undoes the second, or vice versa. A second example, in my opinion, it is unlikely that there is no association. We're not using the word not here, but unlikely is a negation, un being the negation part of that, and no is also a negation. So we have it, in my opinion, is unlikely that there is no association. Those two are undoing each other. So another way to say this would be in my opinion. It is likely that there is an association. Sometimes when you see a double negation, it can take you a little bit of time to understand what is being said. Just take your time looking at how often the negation occurs, and sometimes just working your way back by eliminating them when you see pairs of them to get back to maybe an easier way to think about what's being said.